farm friends, welcome to Haven Acres. I'm Staci and thanks for joining me. Well, not in the farm kitchen as usual, but today you're joining me just in our little library. It's just a corner of one of our rooms. We call this room the library because it holds many of our books. And today, this is where we're starting. You may be a little confused because you thought that the title of this video meant that we were going to talk about a home apothecary. Why are we in the library? Well, because I want to tell you how this girl that didn't know anything about a home apothecary came to have this cute little home apothecary that has served us well. And it all started in our home library. What I want to ask first is, what is an apothecary? I thought an apothecary was a place, but apparently it's a person. You may even be asking yourself, what is an apothecary? Well, there's the Webster's Dictionary, what is an apothecary, and then there's the philosophical, what is an apothecary? That's the definition I like. My apothecary is a place where I take things I have found in nature or grown and I preserve them to use in a healthy way when our bodies need it. Natural, God-given medicine that is good for us. Security in knowledge and practice. But remember, for me, it all begins, or began, I should say, in the library. I have many different gardening books and herbal remedy books, homesteading books, books on food, things of that nature. And that truly is where the apothecary began for me. I didn't know anything about an apothecary or foraging or anything wild for that matter, but I knew that I wanted to know more about it. It was really intimidating actually at first because I really felt like there was this big mystery out there of all of these things that naturally grow that the Lord put on this planet for us to use to heal ourselves. But I didn't understand any of it. I didn't know where to find any of it. And I was actually scared to forage because I didn't want to hurt myself or my family or, poison anybody. And that fear really held me back from even trying. Until I just started reading. I just started looking through books. And I finally found one, this one right here. I know I've showed it in many videos before, but for me, the key was finding a book that I could relate with the author. I could relate with the author and understand what they were saying. So my start to the home apothecary was honestly going through this particular book, which is awesome, for a whole entire winter. And I'm going to tell you, my suggestion would be to do the same. So now's a great time of year if you are interested in finding things to heal yourself or your family that are natural and in the wild. Now is a great time to start. And I would suggest finding a book that you can relate to and just reading through the book. And I'm going to give you an example of what I did because I think you'll totally get this. I started out, let's see, we're going to page 68. I started out going through this book and noticing that there were plenty of things that I recognized, like dandelions. I know what a dandelion looks like. I knew what a dandelion looks like. I'm sure you do too. I could identify that. Like, that's easy. I didn't know of all of the beneficial uses for dandelions. So I started going through this book and noticing all of the things that, oh, I already do know what that is. And it made me feel a little more confident and secure in starting my apothecary. As I read through the collection of books that I had, I began to notice some commonalities. Different plants that were mentioned in multiple books and in multiple concoctions or in multiple ways. And many of them were things that I recognized that I could grow, like hyssop, anise hyssop, or chamomile, easy things to grow. Cabbage, things that I already grew. Calendula. These were all things that I knew I could grow in my garden and in our yard. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is awesome. I can actually grow some things that are beneficial for us and will be useful in the apothecary. And then I thought, just like I do every January, but it's January and I just pine for the garden. I just long for the garden, and it's January and I can't even consider starting seeds for another 2 months easily, the end of March maybe. And that just made me, just so long for the garden. But then pulled up my bootstraps a little bit and said, okay, what else is in here? I still need to learn more. So I looked through my books that I had, and you know what? There's plenty of things that you can still forage for, even if you live in northern climates like us. We're in Maine, and it's below freezing many days out of the winter, snowy, cold, windy, and there are still things that I could forage for in the winter and put in the apothecary. So I started looking. One of my favorites, which I've done a video on, is cedar oil. And of course, you can harvest cedar leaves, which is what you use for cedar oil, in the winter. Usni, I'm finding this on our firewood. Doesn't get much easier than that, does it? Right into the apothecary it goes. And getting outside in the winter is good for you. So if you can get outside and look around, you might find more than you would think. Chaga is another one that is easy to find in the winter. Or at least I think it's easier to find. Chaga is a mushroom that grows on the side of white birch trees and sometimes yellow birch trees. And I think just not having the competition of the leaves, it's easier to spot in the winter. Also, because it grows sometimes high up in the tree, it's easier with snow on the ground because then you're perhaps closer to it. You won't need a ladder. So chaga is another great thing to look for in the winter. I'm going to just show you quickly what I have in my apothecary. And again, these are just things that I picked up in a year's time. And I know you can do something very similar. Let's see. This is hyssop, which I grew in the garden. Thai basil. Holy basil. Whoops. Lemon basil. So all the basils are really good for you. And obviously, those are things that you could just grow in your garden. You could plant the seeds and grow those. This is more hyssop. See, there's the flowers. Aren't they beautiful? You can make a lovely tea with that. More hyssop in the back. Those are dehydrated orange slices. Here I have mandarin balm. So it's like a kind of a bee balm, only orange flavored. Chamomile that I grew and dehydrated for tea. We have purple clover. We have mint in the back. Oven roasted dandelion root. More dandelion root. We have calendula petals in the back. A few rose hips. Look how beautiful those calendula petals are. Aren't they pretty? I also have comfrey, which grows pretty well around here. The yarrow, mojito mint, echinacea leaves, jewelweed leaves, the yarrow leaf and flower. So this is a flower, and then I have the leaves separate. Plantain. Plantain grows everywhere. There's wide leaf and narrow leaf plantain. More yarrow leaves. It's hiding back there. Don't be like me. Make sure you label your jars. And there we have mullein. We have yarrow and plantain. Here we have some of the oils that I have made. I have calendula oil. Our favorite cedar oil. It's a beautiful green color, and we use this often when we have achy joints. I have jewelweed oil, which is wonderful for poison ivy. Wide leaf plantain oil. Narrow leaf plantain oil, and lemongrass oil. You can see it's a little dark when I'm showing you the pictures, and you want to keep your apothecary in a dark area if you can, or in dark bottles is preferred. I will someday put maybe like material or something over these doors so that it's really dark in there. But like with everything else I do, just, I do the best I can. And that's what you should do too. Don't let perfect stop you from doing anything. We also down here have tinctures, Usni tincture, which is made from what I just showed you earlier that I found on the firewood. You can find this everywhere, and in the winter that's a great time to look for that too. Got some St. John's wort oil, some St. John's wort tincture, we've got a double extraction chaga, more yarrow. This was new this year, cleavers. I had never even heard of cleavers. And again, one day I was looking in the book and I thought, hey, I recognize that. So now I have cleavers. And down here we have our hops and chaga. I've also got some body lotion that I recently made with our own beef tallow and lard and olive oil and apricot kernel oil and vitamin E and calendula and wide leaf plantain oil and some spearmint. This is so good for you, all natural, and so good for your skin, especially in the winter months. That's just one of those things that you can make with just very minimal things in an apothecary. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that this has been encouraging, and if you are intimidated with starting your own apothecary or didn't know where to begin, I hope that this has helped you. It really isn't difficult once you start. You really just need some good solid information from a good book and get outside. That's the key, is being outside, looking around, and you are going to be amazed at what is available in your very own backyard. Thanks again. We so appreciate you here, and we hope to see you next time at Haven Acres.